Let's jump into another topic that quite a few have messaged me about, which is monetization. So,
yeah, and this was another thing around that same time. Once we were focused full time on Unsplash, we were still largely in the school of thought that we didn't capture enough of like the behavior yet, the behavior change, and we wanted to focus more there than on the business model. When we went to fundraise, we realized that there's a truism, I think, that if you growth solves everything. Not really. Like, we had a ton of growth and we went to the fundraise, and I think truisms in general are not the greatest things to be following because everything is unique and there's so many variables going into it. Unsplash had that thing too. Like, the unique thing about our space was people couldn't quite see how big the reach was of Unsplash, because I think part of it was even the way that we were telling the story. It's like unsplash.com itself, if you're going to do something around advertising, let's say, you need 200 billion, image views happening a month for that to be like really, really big scale. And at the time when we were fundraising, I think we were around like 2 billion. So there's already a ton of scale and people are like, I can't see it getting to this thing on your site. So that was definitely one of the challenges during fundraising. But our monetization model was also a strategic decision. So we looked at it like, what is the future of image media going to look like? It's not licensing. Like, if we've got a camera and you could go and roughly take the picture that you need, are you going to go pay a licensing fee for something similar? You can hire a photographer. That's another option if you want something that looks good and is a bit more custom. So we felt there's just going to be a big shift that's happening there, and we'd rather get in front of that than try to squeeze like the remaining dwindling percentages that still kind of sit there in licensing. So the model that we apply is we work with brands who want distribution. They want people to see and use their visuals so that they can sort of dominate the visual language in their category. An example of that is we work with like Harley Davidson. Anything that's written about motorcycles or adventure, they'd love to have the new image of their Harley sitting in that post or that presentation. Same thing, we work with Boxed Water. How can they become the brand that's synonymous with sustainability and a different kind of moving on beyond like the plastic water bottle. So there's a lot of those things that brands are looking to shift and change, and Unsplash enables them to do that. We don't compete against like Facebook or Google. That's not a moral thing we want to do, and that's also just not a strategic thing. We just don't have. You don't want to compete in data against Facebook and Google. So yeah, that was really the thinking behind it. There's challenges around any advertising business, because I think the reflex when you hear advertising is just like Google and Facebook, how are you going to ever beat them? They're dominating everything in digital. But if you look closer, we're not competing directly with them. There's different kinds of advertising. The advertising that we're really going after is sitting inside of brand advertising dollars, which is typically done on TV, and it's 50% of the budget. The other 50 sits, yes, in Facebook and Google and other things. But that's really more where we compete, and we have something that's differentiated and unique, so it has pull with advertisers.